Not bad at all. All right, this is the Happy Hour podcast. We've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. The first thing that you want to talk about is something brand new. It's the fall. It's Apple event season. Apple's released a lot of new stuff this year, despite there being a pandemic. And what do you want to discuss this week first up,
Yeah,
Andrew?
I bought an Apple product. They had the iPad announcement, they had the watch announcement, and what I ordered last week was a 2015 Magic Keyboard.
Ooh,
Incredible, right? Well, why did I buy a 2015 Magic Keyboard? Well, I was worried. I was wanting to buy one for a little while, but I was worried that we were going to get replaced at some because the problem with this keyboard, it still has like an eject key on it, which is and now the style,
it does.
the layouts, although it is scissor switches, the layout's wrong because it has the double, it has the non T-shaped arrow keys,
Yes.
so it's technically outdated. But
Yes. Yes, it is.
so I'm a bit wary about that. But I used to use the previous generation Apple wireless keyboard, and then it started getting, and that was the one you put the batteries in the side, right, the little canister. That pretty quickly recently was basically just dropping Bluetooth connection every 5 seconds. I've used it for years, right? So I got my value out of it, and I was like, I'll wait for the September event. If they don't change the keyboards, then I guess I'll just have to buy one. So I'm sure next month they'll probably rev them and put a Touch ID button in the corner of it because that's what will happen. But I'm happy with it. It's lighter than I expected. And what I really want to do with it, and because this one has the lightning port, and I asked on Twitter like a fortnight ago to verify this is going to work. So I work day to day on my Mac on the table, which is laptop, so I connect via Bluetooth. But when I play games, I have a desktop PC, and so, but the desktop PC is switched off when I don't use it. So my plan is to plug the keyboard in with Lightning to USB to the computer, so the Windows computer, and then connect to Bluetooth to the Mac. And according to everyone that I asked on Twitter, as soon as the Windows computer gets power, it will switch over.
Is that what happened?
Well, I only got the keyboard today, so I haven't actually got.
That's why you're so excited about it.
Yeah, so this will be the real test because I think I also need to buy a longer lightning cable to actually work. Because right now I do have a different keyboard, but it's a Windows keyboard, and I have one of those janky KVM switch things. You have to press the button and it manually jumps over. So if it could just happen automatically, it would be much better. So although the Magic Keyboard is really nice on its own, I'm really hoping it's extra magical and acts as its own KVM switch. And I asked people on Twitter, and I got like 10 people back saying they test it for me right now because I asked very, very nicely with very specific wording about I need a Windows computer here, I need a Mac computer here, click on this button here, when you plug them in, what happens? They all said the same thing. So I'm fingers crossed, and I'm going to get incredible joy out of a 2015 keyboard that still costs like 60 quid because Apple loves to charge a lot of money for their keyboards. And I got the white one, even though I would have preferred the black one, but Apple still don't make a black keyboard that doesn't have the number pad on the side. So I only want like the 70 key small one. And so you can only get it in white.
Yeah, so Apple's guaranteed to release like a space gray or all black, or that combination that comes with the iMac Pro, where it's silver and black. Like I would buy that one within the next few weeks. Now that
they have an ARM enabled keyboard that has a Touch ID button in it. Probably, I don't know. They'll do something crazy.
It'll be part of the October event. So thanks for making your purchase now, so we can all benefit from that. What else do we have? We talked last week about Ted Lasso on Apple TV Plus. That's the comedy series on Apple TV Plus. That's very endearing, and people have found it to be quite enjoyable in this period.
Yeah, getting very popular. It seems like.
Yeah, more and more by the day. I stumbled across it. Just knew a little bit about it. Started watching the first 7 episodes and really enjoyed it. Couldn't wait for the next one. Last week you said that there was only one left. And
I misspoke. I'm sorry.
Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah. I said it only had 8 episodes, and that was the series finale last week. I got a lot of people immediately after the show went up saying that it's not correct. There are 10. Yes, there are 10. I'm very, very sorry for that. I regret the error. Luckily, the TV app does show you that there's a next episode coming up, so a lot of people knew from that. So they weren't misled by me. So that was useful. I don't know where I got the series finale was 8 or something. It was in something written like 2 months ago. And that's like stood in the back of my head, but it must have just been wrong. And there's actually 10.
I remember whenever Space Force on Netflix was on IMDb and it showed Stephen Carell only in like 3 episodes out of 10.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's some weird stuff that happens. But yeah, it's awesome. I was glad to see that there were more. I haven't watched episode 8 yet because I want to watch 8, 9, and 10 together. And so
so the actual series finale will be next week.
Because this week
is 9
Wednesday. We're on 9, and then so next Friday. Okay, cool, nice.
And it is renewed for season 2, and it'll probably get renewed again because it's so popular.
Yeah, very cool. What else do we have?
On TV news, Apple got an Emmy. They've been hunting down awards accreditation and validation for the entire time TV Plus has been out. They've had an incredibly aggressive campaign. They got 18 nominations, which we talked about back in July, and the Emmys were on Sunday, and they came out with one, which is not terrible.
It's
18-1.
what's his name? Billy Crudup.
Billy Crudup, right? Yeah.
Okay, so he's got one of the male roles on the show. The show is about sort of like sexism in the workplace as it relates to women, and about like Steve Carell's character being super creepy, and lots of other male characters in the show being super creepy, and kind of having the current social moment come bring them to terms with what they deserve. And so I found I found it a little bit lopsided that
Ironic. Yeah.
yeah, that like one of the male characters from that show gets the Emmy and not one of the females. But to be fair, I think Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon, right? They have won other awards for the series before.
Yeah, Aniston was nominated for the Emmys. She for the lead. Aniston was nominated for lead actress, but
Yeah,
she lost to Zendaya. But Crudup got supporting role.
yeah.
Like,
Zendaya is
I'm sure
excellent,
they'll
by the
go
way.
again for next season and stuff. Like, clearly people like the morning show. Like, uh, and the thing about the Emmys in general is they only the cutoff period for being eligible to even be in the vote is like May the 29th. So if you actually just look at the number of shows Apple added since May 29th, the eligibility criteria could have like doubled on the number of shows they got. And again, they're hoping to do the same next year. So
For next year,
when
yeah.
they have the Emmys campaign for 2021, it'll be even bigger, and there'll be striking distance
Yeah.
of some of the big guys, assuming that you can just multiply out the success of having 1 to 18. If they can
Yeah.
get 5 to 100 or whatever, they'll be in good shape.
I didn't make the connection that it was Zendaya who beat out the female characters, and she's excellent. So, yeah, anything that she's in is I love. What's the show on HBO that she won for? What's it called?
Euphoria.
Euphoria. Yeah, I binged
Yeah.
Euphoria, and yeah, that was a I very much enjoyed that show. So not on Apple TV, on HBO. Oh, let's see what else
And
we have. Yeah, go ahead.
finally, in the follow up, last week we were talking about how good Fitness Plus was. I still stand by that. I think it's a cool service, and it's coming out at an unknown, indeterminate date before the end of the year. But one thing that just passed me by, or I didn't like, they've been saying it's the fitness service designed for the Apple Watch, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out that it's not just like optimized for the Apple Watch experience. It requires a watch. Like it's written in plain English on the website. I just didn't think it would be the case, so it just passed me by. But when we in the the afterglow of last week's episode, I was looking at Fitness Plus website again, looking at the screenshots, and I saw requires watch. And so obviously, if you're on your iPhone, you have your own personal watch. But if you're on the iPad or the Apple TV, it will just use like whichever watch is nearby, right? But if you don't have a watch nearby at all, you can't use the app, which seems a bit silly to me. Like, what is a service? It's workout videos with an overlay of extra health metrics, right? Like, if I'm getting Fitness Plus for the family, only one other person in my family has a watch. So, but they would love to just do like fitness class, well-produced professional fitness classes like they do on YouTube now, just following the videos on the living room Apple TV. But the way it's written on Apple's website today is that they're not going to be able to do that unless I like stand by with like a buddy system, just waving my watch around so they can do the workout. Like, I just think that's a bit of a silly limitation.
Yeah, I'd love to hear if that is exactly the case, because it feels like it's kind of vague at this point. Like they want to, like I could see them having that to encourage like the full experience. So having it in fine print, being like, to have what we're showing, you need to have an Apple Watch.
They
But
do,
also,
it is in fine print, but there's also like their little Q&As that they do on some of those pages. One of the Q&As is, "Do you need an Apple Watch?" And it is like, yes.
yeah, I had someone ask me too if they can do like multiple people can do one workout together. And to me, the answer is I don't know yet, because there's a lot that we don't know about the service until we can use it. But they're what they're coming from, for reference, is doing group yoga workouts through Peloton on the TV, and I mean that's as like a husband and wife couple, and it's like that's very popular. That's a scenario that you could easily see, because you don't have to have like multiple treadmills or whatever to do that. And right now we don't know. Like, will both watches work with it, or will one watch control the experience and one watch be just extra?
I mean, you got to
Probably.
assume that probably the latter, right?
Yeah, probably the latter. Yeah.
At least for the first version, because obviously you get the nice health metrics synced up with the paired watch, but then the person you're playing along with can just start the workout on their own watch and just look at their screen, right? But in the fullness of time, it would obviously be great if they could have multiple people going simultaneously, or 0 watches present and just
we want 0 and 2+ watches. The one
yeah.
watch requirement is not
Like I
ideal.
tweeted about this being silly, like the
Uh-huh.
requirement to have a watch, and a lot of people said that I was stupid because like that's the whole
Well,
point, is that you get the health metrics on the screen. But
yes.
I mean, you know what I mean, stupid in like light terms, but they didn't agree with me. They thought it was perfectly reasonable. I don't get it. Like it's like, oh, you can't watch a TV Plus show unless you're watching it in 4K. Like, yeah, that is the best experience with 4K and Dolby Vision, but they happily let you just watch it on your phone or on a normal, standard def TV or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
it's the same with Fitness Plus. The core service is workout videos, and there's nothing mandatory about that requires them to know your current pace and stuff, because the sessions aren't live. So I could see if it was live sessions, they could cut them off and say you need to work out right now so you can appear on the leaderboards and stuff. Like, all of that other stuff is just optional. But for whatever reason, Apple's like, no, you must have
Well,
a watch as well as pay for Fitness Plus.
I mean, it's kind of like you have to have a phone to have a watch, and now that's a little bit looser, but not a whole lot looser
The
than
main
just the
thing is the
phone
TV
doubling as.
experience, right? Because there's going to be a
Yeah.
fitness app on the TV,
Mhm.
and it's perfectly licensed with family sharing to work. But oh no, I've got to like stand in the corner of the room waving my watch around so the rest of the family can do a workout. Like,
I mean, it is a good point. A demo mode of some sort, or like let you try this out. Like to pay for the service, maybe require the watch, you get the full experience. But to trial the service, I mean, the service is included for 3 months with a new purchase of a watch. So that's one thing. But like if you wanted to just trial the service, if they had an option to let you do it for like 3 days or whatever, or X amount of hours, then not having a watch would be neat, because then you
yeah,
don't.
if they'd made it so it was like, if you just own an Apple Watch, you can just access these fitness classes, then obviously I'd understand that the
But
watch is
okay, yeah,
required.
you pay for the watch. That's the hardware. They're
Yeah,
monetizing it.
but it's not. It's like you pay for the watch, and then you also have to pay for Fitness Plus concurrently, and you have to have them both together at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
so it seems kind of mental to me that there's, because the watch is doing well, but it still pales in comparison to the number of iPhones in the world. Like,
Mhm.
Apple's just going to say we don't want these people to give us services revenue, or you just lonely iPhone owners, you've got to buy a watch from us as well. Like, seems kind of mental, but that's what they're going with.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, the way that you came across this as being something that you're concerned about is that you've got a watch in your household, but other members of the family don't, and they were expressing that they were looking forward to Fitness Plus as a service that they would actually use, and
Yeah,
so
because they watch
yeah.
fitness classes on YouTube on the Apple TV, right, in the lounge, and they just stand and do it. And the YouTube ones are fine, but they're obviously not going to have the production value of the Fitness Plus classes. So it's like, okay, we're going to get included in Premiere, we get some nice, extra value out of it. And then I was like, oh, sorry, no, it's not actually going to work, and they were pretty upset about it.
Email Tim Cook. Last thing I want to mention before we get into this week's news is this is also TV Plus related, but Long Way Around, the new series with Ewan McGregor, where him and his buddy take a journey on an electric motorcycle made by Harley Davidson, and they're supported by an electric truck made by I think Rivian is the company's name, Rivian. Uh, that has debuted. But we talked last week about how I was watching the two previous versions of the show, Long Way Up and Long Way Down.
Up's the new one,
Okay, Up is the new one.
round and down
Around.
were the old ones.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool. The two old ones I was watching through YouTube, and they were split up. They weren't like officially available on YouTube. It was like just some user uploaded them, and they were split up by episode, and you couldn't. I mean, what you had to like go and find the next one after you watch one. They're all on Apple TV Plus as of the episode coming out. Sorry about the phone call there. I think it was Ewan McGregor calling to correct me about the show names, or maybe Eddie Q. I don't know. But I've really been enjoying those, and the first three of those are of the new version are out on Apple TV Plus. The fourth one comes out on Friday. I think there's 10. Is there 8 or 10? What do you?
I think it's 11,
Okay, 11.
just to
And
mix it up a bit more.
and it's three at launch, and then one weekly after that is what it appears to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this. I mean, you've been watching these too, like only the new ones.
Yeah, I haven't watched the old one. I probably, if I finish this series, I'll probably go back and watch the other ones too. But I like it. It's like Top Gear, but less dramatized. They
Hmm.
have less
Yeah.
like straight stunts. It's just a nice drive around the world.
Uh-huh. I am working on getting my own version of this experience approved for work where I would do an EV trip from Miami to New York over the span of 10 days. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but I'm certainly planning it. And it's kind of neat because like when in watching the first series, it was like, how are we going to even record this as friends want to do this, and they have to bring in a production team. And I was thinking about like just doing my own experience, just like, oh, I've got the iPhone, which I already like mount to my bike and record myself driving a lot of the times, and the GoPro to like have the road view. And then I've used the Skydio 2 drone to like record me on the bike in cool places, and it can even follow you. So you can do like a one man thing these days. So kind of neat. All right, let's thank our first sponsor, and I will work out where my audio is routed.
You know, in iOS 14, there's a silence unknown callers feature.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
We will talk about iOS 14 in a minute, but first, we all know that a VPN protects your privacy and security. But what you can also do is use a VPN to evade geographic content blocks and access movies and TV shows that simply aren't available to you in your country, but are to someone else, somewhere else in the world. Use ExpressVPN to change your location. Not literally, but when you connect to ExpressVPN, you can choose the physical location of the server. So you can appear to be from somewhere else to sites like Netflix, Hulu, BBC iPlayer, YouTube, the list just goes on and on. If you're in the US and you want to watch, say, Doctor Who or something like Blackadder, just fire up ExpressVPN, set your location to the UK, and you see the same content library as I do when I use Netflix. ExpressVPN hides your IP address and lets you control where you want sites to think you're located. You can choose from almost 100 different countries. There are hundreds of VPNs out there, but ExpressVPN stands apart as being ridiculously fast. Stream HD video without any buffering or lag whilst proxying over their connection. You can use ExpressVPN across all of your devices: iPhone, Android, games consoles, smart TVs, and so much more. Watch what you want on the go, on the big screen, wherever you are. If you use our special link right now, that's expressvpn.com/happyhour, you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Support the show, watch what you want, and protect yourself online. Go to expressvpn.com/happyhour to get started.
All right, thank you, ExpressVPN. So, first topic, iOS 14. It's released.
iOS
It's now
14.
available. It's in the wild. We've been running the different pre-release versions all summer long, but it's a totally different experience seeing like iOS 14 launch with the other people in our lives compared to like iOS 13 in prior, because
Right.
people really care about this update. Like I've had friends say the theming stuff is awesome, which is really just means the widgets, and then all the theming stuff that's like been discovered that's kind of been there before.
Like the fake customization.
Yeah, through shortcuts, like cool. Shortcuts is having its moment right now for something it's not really intended for, but can do. And then like picture in pictures is one thing. New stuff with messages, like being able to pin chats and reply to threads that are like higher up, like or make a thread reply. Like there's a lot of fun stuff. It's just like simple, basic, like finally on the iPhone, long available on Android features that people really are liking.
Yeah, like obviously we've talked about iOS 14 a bit when it launched in June, and we followed the beta process, but I thought it would be good now that we hit the launch date. Well, technically the launch date was last week, but Apple's compressed timetables mean everything rolls into one. It's nice to like have a look back and see, okay, iOS 14's out and we've been using obviously for months. What are we actually like benefiting from? What are we actually using? Like iMessage is a good example what you brought up. Like they added a fair few different features like the pinning stuff and the replying. And, back in June, I wasn't entirely sure whether those features were going to be actually meaningful day to day, or were they were just like gimmicks that they've thrown in there, right? Like, and for me, the inline replies to different parts of the thread, definitely. I mean, I use that naturally with you just before we were recording now.
Practical and useful. Like it adds context to what you're telling me when I spam you overnight with 10 messages, and you can reply to each one individually.
Yeah, because so often, like, we'll be chatting into the evening, and then it's time for me to go to bed, and you send me like 4 or 5 things while I'm asleep. So when I wake up in the
over
morning,
the span of several hours.
over the span of several hours, right? Yeah. While I'm asleep, and then I wake up, and I just have to like answer them in sequence at the bottom, and you just have to use your brain to figure it out. But now you don't have to. You can just read the nice little, follow the lines and read the continuation of the threads. And they have a nice UI for it with the little like, they have a tiny version of the bubble to the side and a little arrow that goes along that's like stylized, and it turns into a loop, and there's multiple messages. Like it's well done. And you can just like tap on and go back through. So threading is a great addition to messages, and I can't wait to be able to take advantage of the same thing on the Mac when Big Sur finally launches, and it's good.
Yeah,
Uh,
in beta, threading doesn't work that reliably
oh,
yet.
great.
And my Messages
Yeah.
app has two windows,
Okay. Well,
and it's very delayed.
When Big Sur is not bug, sir, you'll step right up to that. However, the pinning thing I don't use. Like
I've
you
had
can
a
pin.
friend tell me penning is amazing, and so there's one data point.
Do you use it?
No, and I think I could. It's funny how it works though. Like something about it makes it just maybe if I like tried it for like an extended number of days, I would benefit from it. I mean, there's certainly people who the way I look at it is I would pin the people who are important to me, but we don't chat as frequently. So like
Right.
my mom, we message once every 2 weeks or something, and so I'm always looking down the list. Sometimes I'll just compose a new message and pick and like type in mom. But it's not always at the top of my messages. The people I talk to the most, they are. So pinning them kind of has no value. So to me, it's pinning the people that are important, but not regulars in your chat history.
Yeah, I can see that. Like for me, I think probably the people I care about most are the ones I also text the most. So it's kind of a redundant feature. So
Yeah,
they're just always at the top of the list anyway. And if you
I,
pin
I th-
something, you then have a really you have a significant you're giving up a significant amount of real estate just for one icon, right? Like,
yeah.
and if you pin one thing, you really need to pin like three things to make use of the horizontal space. So then you know like I
Pin
think
your parents, pin your grandparents. That's
yeah, but I talk to them enough anyway. Well, yeah, like grandparents maybe, but like
yeah.
but then if I don't talk to them regularly, then it feels like a waste to have them stuck at the top of the screen in such a big picture. You know what I mean? Like it's a hard
Yeah,
feature for me
well,
to
on big
grow up.
phones, I love that there's this new accidental thing of bringing important content to the bottom of the screen because if you pen the people who are important but not frequent, then you don't really have to tap up there very often, and
Oh,
it
because it pushes
makes
everything else down.
yeah, it makes the ones that you like the most recent ones they're suddenly mid screen or lower. And the same thing with widgets. Like on my home screen, we'll talk about in a little bit. I've got one wide and two half size screen widgets, and that makes the apps that I like the 8 apps I use the most way more reachable.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because Apple, despite adding so much home screen customization this year, the
It's
icons still stack from the top left downwards, which seems a bit antiquated when they let you do everything else.
especially when iPhones get bigger this year than ever
Yeah.
before. So, but
So yeah, pinning. I don't use it. It hasn't come out for me. I'm sure like some people who do a lot of like group threads and stuff maybe want to pin the groups up there, and they
yeah,
have nice little effects where if someone replies in the thread, it puts the message bubble right over the pin and stuff. Like it's well done. I don't find it very useful. Let's talk about the widget stuff. Like I think we all kind of thought that widgets were going to be a big deal because that is the hero feature of this operating system, and it makes the front page of the iPhone look different. And so before the launch happened, I think you probably guessed that widgets were going to be important, but there's been this kind of like viral sensation, this like mania around it, where people are just lapping up widgets in spades, and that's in combination with this kind of shortcuts hack where you can take
so
app
yeah.
icons and change what the images are for them and make like pretty themes and like basically style your own home screen with
Yeah,
truly
so,
like
so
custom.
you could always change your background. Well, for a long time since iOS 4, I guess. You could, for a long time, pick between different app icons for an app if they supply them in the app.
Mm-hmm.
You've been able to more recently make like supply your own picture and create a shortcut to where it launches the app, but at first it launches shortcuts and it's a little bit not pretty. What's new is widgets, and widgets like, and as far as you and I have used them, we've used them in the beta cycle as the widget for the app, to kind of like be like better than the app icon or like show some kind of information, that way. What's taken off that's kind of, I don't think either of I saw this coming. Some developers must have, because they made apps that were for this purpose, is you've got a widget, but what if you have an app that lets you basically do like almost anything with it
Yeah.
visually? And so it's
Build
not,
your own widget.
yeah, it's not the app for weather, it's not the app for music, or widget for music, it's the widget for making a widget, and you can customize how it looks and kind of what it shows to your liking. And that's what's taken off. And also kind of by way of that, then highlighted the other customization things that you can do with app icons, etc.
Yeah, and that's become like a meme, right? Where people just make there are people that are just making home screens for jokes, not that they actually want it. And there are other people just generally like, changing all their standard system icon set to like pink and purple ones, and then having photos of their family using Widgetsmith or something plastered on the home
Yeah,
screen.
I think that's so cool to see too,
Hmm.
because it's like, what are different ways you can customize your iPhone and use it differently than I do? And my widgets are pretty boring, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But like, it's using an app as a widget,
Yeah.
not a widget for customization. It has highlighted to me that it would be wonderful to not have the label on the widgets because you don't have a label on your docked icons. You have a label on your home screen icons. But if you have the widget, then you're probably like super intentional about what it is. And so having the label not be there would be kind of neat, kind of nice visually, especially if it's like Widgetsmith, for example, and the name of it doesn't really relate to what it is that you might be showing. On the other hand, for Widgetsmith and David Smith, like it's super helpful virally to have the name of it below the widget. So you're like, what app is that? Oh, there it
Often
is.
repeated multiple times on the same screen.
And indeed, yeah, which you can do for like known apps like that are actually like widget apps. So but it's a thing that's happening, and I'm happy to see it. Some people have been kind of grouchy about how you can make it look like something that you don't prefer. In my opinion, you've been able to do that with wallpapers that come with the iPhone, like stock wallpapers, for a long time.
And Apple
So
does a great job of making icons that people don't think are ugly.
yeah, it's half this podcast is talking about
Yeah,
about icon
half his
set.
own
So
podcast complain about white icons. Like I know there was like the Steve Jobs mentality of like, Apple knows best on everything. We're not going to let you change a single thing, and that's one of the reasons why they didn't let you change your wallpaper for so long. But like widgets on the iPhone date back to the Mac, right, with dashboard, right, and Apple was pretty gung ho about that. You can lay about widgets however you want on dashboard, and so that's just really a modernization that brought to the phone.
RIP dashboard.
And the Mac has also support. Well, it's got less recently, but for the longest time, it was very easy to set custom icons for your apps. If you wanted to, you can just right click on them and drag new icons in there. If you want, like, customize the dock icons, for instance. Like, I don't think it's out of Apple's wheelhouse at all. I do think that this incredible upswing in demand for this stuff, like, how many people were using the Shortcuts app at all before last week? And now so many people have never launched the app in their lives.
It's a whole different demographic of users.
Yeah. And they followed incredibly unnecessary and complicated steps to be able to make an alternative launcher for an app that when you're done isn't a great alternative launcher for the app, because when you click on it, it still launches Shortcuts to then redirect you to the app that you actually want to go to, right? Like, if there's that many people in the world willing to go to that amount of effort to make a custom icon, and then many of them be subjected to being a slower experience to launch the app every single time, I think there's enough demand there for Apple to do something officially. Like, I think they should not endorse going through Shortcuts. They should just have, like, a place in settings where you just set custom icons, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that like system panel could show you icons that the app provides. So like, if there's alternative app icon options inside an app, like Apollo, for instance, it could have one central place to pick from them. And then below, you could say set custom icon and pick your own, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do it.
and with Widgetsmith, the popularity of Widgetsmith and apps like it, it's great that they exist in today's world, but again, they are kind of hacks around stuff, right? Because
it's meeting a demand.
Yeah, it's meeting demand, right?
Yeah.
But if you have like a weather widget through Widgetsmith, when you tap on the widget, it still opens Widgetsmith, for instance, and it says Widgetsmith underneath it. Like, part of that stuff is like the obvious cases. Apple should just update the built-in apps to just make their widgets better, so they become less necessary. Right, like, I think an obvious one for them to do is the Photos widget, because
you could say, like, if you use Widgetsmith as like the new version of the old app called Check the Weather, then you could Apple could provide a tool to say, if you're using this style of widget, link it to this part of the app.
Yeah, I mean, you can. Yeah, like if David Smith built an entire weather experience inside Widgetsmith, he could do that, right? You could tap on the Widgetsmith widget, and he could take you to the weather section. There is no way to launch a different app than the same one,
right? Yeah.
Like, and again, everyone loves these free customizations. It's great, but maybe Apple should offer like more options themselves, right? Like, it doesn't really need to be like 10 different make your own widget things that are, when you get down to brass tacks, a little bit of a hack in a game. It's great that it exists, and obviously Widgetsmith's doing very popular, especially, but all of these things, it just kind of shows you that Apple has more work to do. Like, a blatant example is the Photos widget.
Yeah.
So the system Photos widget uses the featured albums and pictures on the For You tab of the Photos app, and that uses like machine learning to suggest photos, and it changes to suggest different memories, and it changes like once a day, right? Or maybe twice a day. But what people want, and clearly by the demand for all these custom apps, and there are apps on the App Store now, which is literally just called Photo Widget, which all they do is let you pick photos to show. They just want to be able to pick photos themselves. They don't want a machine to do it. They want to say like, I want this photo to show all the time, or I want photos in an album to randomly rotate every 10 minutes or something. Like, and an obvious example for Apple to offer is a widget that just shows you favorites, right?
Mhm.
So you heart a photo, there's a favorites widget, it just randomly rotates through those pictures.
It's a
Like,
whole watch face on the Apple Watch.
exactly, right? Like, and that's something that currently you can't do with the built-in stuff, so people have to go to the App Store for it. So, but in general, I think Apple's done a good job with widgets. I know people were like, "Oh, I miss the old ones because they could be so much more dynamic and interactive." But they were also really bad. Like they were stuck on a screen that no one ever went to. Every time you went to that screen, they would have to like load in again, and they'd have like you just have to wait for them. They wouldn't like they'd be so ugly because no one really had set standards for the things. So they'd all kind of it was a big mishmash. Like if people are saying the current home screens are ugly, you look at the widget screen on iOS 13. Like it's terrible. Whereas now the modern widget system, it simplifies it down, but it also just makes it better. Like all the widgets look beautiful. Most of the third-party widgets from the App Store look really good as well, and they all kind of mesh better with your nicely detailed app icons. Like
Widgets are definitely way more fun when your favorite app has a widget too, and versus just the built-in stuff during the beta process. So like that's been a big thing that I've enjoyed.
what
Why?
widgets are you using?
I mean, so like some of my main apps are like Things is my task manager, Fantastic Hours my calendar, and so they've got widgets apps, and those are like I think Fantastical came out just today. I'm also using Weather naturally, like it's always been a widget on the widget page. Well, now it's on my home page, so I like that. And then Maps, which I mean, it's like why have Maps as a widget? But I like that you can like tap on search and it takes you to the search field in the app versus like tap the app icon and it takes you to the app in general and you tap search again. So it's like one step faster. But I also like I do travel enough that the icon is dynamic in that it's your last like viewed location from Maps, and so it changes and it's like I'm here now, and it like feels more like if the Earth face on the Apple Watch was like that. Well, I guess it is, but not that precise. It's
Yeah, the Earth face on the watch is really zoomed out, isn't it? So
right, yeah. So that the icon for Maps widget is like very precise, and so it's neat to see like, oh, am I in Florida this week or at home or somewhere else? So I like it.
yeah, I currently have my home screen only with one widget on, which is weather. So I replaced the weather icon with the small weather widget, so the 2x2 one. And it's great. Like, I love it. Like, even people could say it's, the widget system's a failure if you're only using one widget, but I think that's a perfectly good use of the system. Like, you don't have to just cover widgets on every single page. If you want to, you can have like a home screen, which is icons, and a widgets on the right page if you want to. And then I just have basically I like the smaller widgets because they're like dynamic app icons. So like you can have the clock, or you can have little photo previews, or you have the weather information. It's like,
Yeah.
how long have we stared at the weather icon going like, it's currently not 73 degrees and sunny, but that's what the icon always shows you. And now you can actually have a dynamic icon. It's like Windows Phone Live Tiles just reborn
Yeah.
into the iOS ecosystem.
I like that. I mean, I mentioned this before, but I've got 12 app icons on my home screen. And before it would be that if I mean, I've tried to reduce down to just like having like my 8 favorites on the home screen plus the dock. And it just wasn't great because they were so far away. Like I've always had my most used ones near the bottom of the phone to be able to reach them. And now, it's like there is the dock, and then there's the 8 that I use a lot and one on my home screen. Everything else is an app library, and then my page 0. I do have widgets here as well, like where they used to have to be. For these, it's like the ones that I don't want on my home screen, but they're useful widgets. Like I've got the TV app in its largest form. When new episodes are out, it's right there. I found
Yeah, the
that kind
TV
of
app widget's good.
yeah, it's a widget. It's good.
It's better at finding the shows than the app itself.
Yeah, the notes widget is neat because you can pick like what it shows there. It's one of those where they do take advantage of the ability to customize the widget itself. You can pick what folder. For example, you can pick to show all notes, so that's neat. I think they have an opportunity there to have like penned notes as an option because that would be neat. Sometimes I don't want it to be the most recent in a folder. I want it to be static, and it's too dynamic for my taste. In the news widget, you can pick by topics. You don't have to just have like political news, which is what tends to be like the trending stuff. You can say, I want to have, technology news. I want to have space news. I want to have car news, and that can be one of the things. And then the battery widget is it's there because I've always relied on that page. So it's neat to have like a dynamic version of that versus just a full list. Because if you only have like two devices that you're checking battery on, having that big long list wasn't that useful. And now it can be much prettier and compact. So.
And you said you're using the app library, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so with the widget situation, it's like that's neat. I like that you can stack widgets and like swipe through them. So you can have like multiple in one place. But then my if I go from my home screen to the very next screen on the right, like that's app library, and I use that I have a ton of apps on the phone, and I used to kind of like seasonally parse down what apps I haven't used in a long time and like just take them off. Now with the app library, it feels like there's no need to do that
Yeah,
because
everyone's going to be cluttering up their phone.
yeah, and it kind of in a good way. And it's like you can still let apps be offloaded if you don't use them to save space, and like then you kind of know what you're really using the most. But I've always been a folder person. I've always made my own folders on page two where it's alphabetized with they're named by category and they're alphabetized. So it was like uh, technology will be in like one thing, work will be in one folder, entertainment will be in one folder, and it's all alphabetized. Travel, for example, app library between the first beta and the release got a lot better in terms of how the folders are created and like what they're named. So I like that a lot. I like that there's a test flight folder that's made for when you're testing apps for work. I wish the test flight app was in that folder too because that'd be neat. It's in utilities, which is okay. Um, Recently added. The only thing about recently added is it doesn't factor in offloading apps by to manage your storage. So if the app is re-downloaded, it'll be recently added. So that's kind of annoying. I feel like if it should be just be did you actually recently just install this on your phone for the first time or recently. Um, and then the app library where it isn't the folders, but it's like the whole list alphabetically. I complained about that on the first beta that I just it's like you're gonna see all the A apps there and that's about it, and then you can search or you can pick from the side alphabet picker. I've gotten really good at tapping precisely which letter I want to go to. Like okay, I'm looking for Twitter, for example. I think it's actually on the homepage, but let me just tap on the letter T and it's like right there. So I've gotten fast at doing that. I'm like, there's new muscle memory. My only complaint is that one password and numbers. It's the number one and then password. It's in the number section, which is after Z. I
No.
wish that numbers came before A. That's how I organize things.
Yeah.
And so I don't have like one password on a home screen, and so I I have to remember to tap on the number sign to get there.
I can't say personally I've been using App Library much. I definitely see why it has value, but for me, I think my muscle memory is just so trained. Like if
Yeah,
an app's not on the first page, I'm just swiping down and searching for it from there, right, to
yeah.
launch it. So
And I think I did say at some point that and we talked about the difference in Spotlight and App Library search. Where on App Library, like you're just typing in the app name and there's no other results. On the home page, it's Spotlight, and on the widget page is Spotlight. I do find myself sometimes accidentally trying to use Spotlight from the app library, and so I'm not so sure what I prefer there.
I mean, that kind of tension definitely shows you that they could probably unify those two experiences somehow, right? Like, do you really need three search bars in the same experience? You've got one on the widget screen, you got one if you pull down, and you got another search bar on the app library page. Like, it's probably overcomplicated, and they could probably find a way to trim it down a bit, right?
Yeah, I'll see if over time I get like, used to it. But I'm frequently doing like looking for like a term on the web or something, and searching for my through my app library. I'm like, oh man, now I gotta do that again on a different page. So
One thing I
it,
will say I would notice on app library is that games have a category, and then
yeah,
arcade is a separate category.
yeah, I like that.
Well, the problem is I have about 6 games and about 12 arcade games, right?
Yeah,
And at least on my app library, the games is on the above the fold, but arcade I have to scroll all the way to the bottom to find it. So
yeah. I mean,
I
there should
prefer
be
if
more
just games and arcade were
customization.
together. But
Yeah, there should be more customization. Let you have them separate. Let you have them together. Let you move them around. Because I can't like blindly find what folder I'm looking for. But I do love this like new photo style where 3 out of the 4 are tappable.
Hmm.
They're much larger, and then they've done a lot of pretty animations in iOS 14 and throughout. Like even just the setup screen when you uh, set up iOS 14 for the first time, like on a new device, there's just way more animating stuff in a tasteful way where it's like classic kind of whimsy that people always look forward to come back. It's like there's a lot of whimsical stuff in iOS 14 where someone with that preference had a say so in design this time.
Yeah, and you don't need like outlandish or garish visual, adornments. You just need that little extra bit of care to show that someone actually paid attention and they didn't just go
Yeah.
with the first thing that came out the printer. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
that little extra touches that make it work. Two
Yeah.
other quick things that
Mhm.
I'm appreciating about iOS 14, but I don't really have much to say about them. Picture in picture, fantastic. It's been on the iPad for years. I've said it should come to the iPhone. It is on the iPhone. It's great.
It's great.
I wish YouTube would support it without me having to pay for premium, but
I
there you
pay
go.
for premium and I wish YouTube would support it better.
Yeah.
Because I think it was only in Safari at first, and I think it's still the case.
No, they blocked it in Safari now.
Okay, so they blocked it. Yeah, right. They blocked it in Safari for non-premium users, maybe even for premium. But you still, even if
Yeah.
you're premium, you can't do it on YouTube, the app, right? Yeah.
I,
It,
I don't pay for premium, so I don't know.
okay, it works for downloaded videos because I did download like
Right,
some
okay.
videos for offline, and it just naturally worked. So maybe they'll go and break that next.
I did notice if you request desktop site in Safari, the picture-in-picture button still works. So that was a little workaround if you're trying
Nice,
to cheat the
cool.
system.
Yeah, very nice.
And banner call notifications, that's another finally. Like,
Hmm.
you don't want the phone calls to take over your screen for no reason. They just come as a little banner. You can press accept and talk, or you can
Hmm.
pull down on the banner. It expands into the full screen experience, or you just swipe it away, or you can just leave it there. And if you liked the old way where it did take over your screen, like my parents, I think just prefer that because it's easier for them to like do it one thing at a time. They ask me, I don't like this banner thing. Can I put it back? It's fine. You just go into settings, click on phone,
Nice.
and then there's an option for it. But for
Very
me,
cool.
give it a banner. It's great. And then I can just carry on watching, scrolling Twitter while I'm on the phone if I have to. It's not a problem.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about the new banner feature is like it still interrupts you, and sometimes like if you're taking a video or a picture, I think it'll blur it, like blur the camera app. It at least has it on one occasion for me, and so I'm like, oh great, so much for multitasking. It's
Yeah, I
just
think if you're like because the camera app uses the microphone when you're taking video or if you're doing like a live
mhm.
photo, it captures the audio. When the phone call comes in, I think it can only route to the microphone on the phone, so that's why it
Yeah.
makes the camera shut up. Obviously, it shouldn't do that, but that's why it happens.
Yeah, yeah. And I also like that it corrects the behavior where, like, if you get a Skype call or a Facebook Messenger call or something, to have that premium, phone experience before they needed to take advantage of, whatever the VoIP API is in iOS. And that made them work like the phone app, which was bad, full screen, no good. Now they work the way that they used to, where they are banner alerts, and they're good. So I like that a lot too. One more thing I'll say in terms of like features that I like in 14 doesn't apply to me, but I was so thrilled whenever the iPhone 11 series of phones enabled you to be able to record video with the quick capture, quick take camera by holding on the button to
Hmm.
turn a photo into a video, even though it's a little bit compromised in terms of quality, aspect ratio and resolution. You can do that video while you're playing audio, like through the music app or podcast app or whatever. And that was only on the 11 family of phones, and iOS 14 added it to like iPhone 10R and 10s, I think
Yeah.
at least. So, there was no reason it shouldn't be there. It was kind of a marketing thing, and it's there now. And so is that customizable camera app experience where you can like tap on the resolution and frame rates in the app. Again, no reason it shouldn't be on the other phones. And as of 14, it is. So those are very useful.
All right. Let's talk about pillow. Getting a good night's sleep is underrated, but with a little help, it can be life changing. Pillow is an all in one sleep tracking solution to help you be more aware of your sleep patterns and discover what might be affecting how you sleep. If you have an Apple Watch, tracking your sleep is as easy as wearing it to bed. Pillow will track and analyze your sleep automatically. With iOS 14, you can get a sleep report on your home screen with the Pillow widget available in small and medium sizes. It shows your latest sleep report in a beautiful layout. Just tap on the widget to go straight to your sleep session analysis. Also new with iOS 14, Pillow integrates beautifully with the new system sleep modes. For instance, you can have Pillow launch when your scheduled bedtime or wind down mode kicks in. And Pillow was available with all of these iOS 14 features on iOS 14's launch day, so you can use them right now. One of Pillow's most loved features is the ability to get a detailed heart rate diagram of every sleep session. Compare your sleep quality with your weight, steps, caffeine consumption, and many other health metrics to discover how they might be affecting your sleep patterns. And you can enable recording, so Pillow will save the sounds that you make during sleep, from sleep talking to sleep apnea, just snoring or random unexpected noises in the night. You can record and find out what it is, and a lot of users have been surprised by the results. Of course, Pillow is privacy minded. All of your sleep and audio data is encrypted and stored on your device, and when it syncs with iCloud, it's using end-to-end encryption. Pillow is available on the App Store for iPhone, Apple Watch, and iPad. Discover all of Pillow's features at neighbox.com/pillow. That's neybox.com/pillow. Sleep well and stay safe. Our thanks to Pillow for sponsoring the show.
Yeah, Pillow has my endorsement. It's great to use on its own or with Apple sleep tracking stuff, but it's a more detailed experience than you get built in. So I love those guys. We talked about iOS 14.0, so naturally we now will talk about iOS 14.2, and the reason for that is there's no 14.1. That's a version that will be made for the new iPhones, iPhone 12 family of phones, right? And so
Yeah, that's what that's the most obvious explanation.
that it's got assets in there that they don't want to be pre-revealed before an iPhone 12 event in October.
Yeah, and so 14.2 is going to ship after the iPhones come out, so that's why it's done that way.
Yeah. And it has new features. Like this came out at the end of our recording last week, and we slowly kind of learned more about what's in it over time. And I installed it for a few days. I eventually had to downgrade back to 14, but it's got some neat stuff in it. I mean, first off, right off the bat, it's got a whole new design for how you manage AirPlay 2 speakers and TVs. So in that kind of pull down from the top right on newer phones interface, it's been the same since the HomePod launched and before that. And so now it's this whole new style, which to me, like, was the obvious thing was, oh, they're making a new something audio related, whether it's the AirPod Studio headphones or HomePod.
It's the classic formula. Look at the
Yeah,
system features, see which ones get attention, and then out rolls a new product. And sure enough, we'll have HomePod Mini and AirPod Studio coming very soon. So
yeah,
here's an overhaul to the now playing experience. It's a really
yeah.
nice
Hmm.
what they've done with it. Like if you're not playing any content at all, you get these nice thumbnails
Yep.
from media apps like music or podcasts. And so if you just get some inspiration about what to play right now, you can just tap
Hmm.
one of those and it instantly launches it and loads it up, which is nice, other than just having a blank screen that was
Yeah.
what was there before.
But
And they've sped up, like before it was kind of annoying to change from the speaker to a HomePod, for instance, on your phone, because the animation was really slow. Like you tap the little AirPlay button, and then it would have to go like bloop bloop into the middle of the screen, and the whole background would blur and take forever. Now they've made it basically just like a pop over. Like you press
yeah,
the button and it immediately pops up on the screen. The animations and the finesse of the shadows and stuff are still rough, but it is only beta 1.
yeah. I mean, going from the new stuff back to the current stuff, it's like, oh, it looks really dated now. Because it was like before. I would describe the other version as like an alternative to Sonos, like it was inspired by Sonos's kind of multi-room audio stuff. It was Apple's take on that, and it wasn't intuitive or easy, and it wasn't like pretty, but it got the job done. The new stuff is way better, and like the screens where you see multiple pieces of artwork for music and podcasts, like that's so neat because it's the biggest change to the now playing screen I've seen like ever, where it totally changes how it looks. Like it used to just be the formula was art, this is now playing, here's artwork, here's a title, description, whatever. Now it can be, here's 8 things that you might want to tap into, and that's neat to me. It's like, oh,
Yeah, and they've
fast access.
definitely improved the experience of having lots of speakers around your house. Like maybe if you suddenly
Yeah,
get like 6 HomePod Minis dotted around, because the kind of control of the speakers UI and like control center has been uh refined and optimized, so you can see more tiles on screen at once, and it's easier to see what's playing on each one. Like it like tells you the track name directly, what's playing where, so you can tap and pause, and you can play and pause directly from that screen. So they're definitely readying for a more ubiquitous streaming music in the home experience.
yeah, yeah. The Shazam stuff's neat. The Shazam stuff, you can now do this auto listening mode that you control from Control Center as a tile. How's
Yeah,
that
it's
work?
sort of automatic. Like ideally, you could just leave Shazam running and it would just listen passively. and
Like on certain Android phones, like
like on
on
certain Android phones
yeah,
that can do this, and it just notices songs or
yeah.
music that's playing, and it
Apple
just stores
bought
it in its own.
Shazam and they own Shazam, so it's right there for the taking.
Yeah, I'm sure they must be working on it, but this is like a half step. So there's a Shazam button in the control center. You press that, it starts listening. Then you can play music on the phone itself. So it doesn't have to be listening to music from the outside world or sound. You can be just playing music in the YouTube or on the web or anywhere, and you can be wearing headphones, so it doesn't have to be out loud even. Uh, and it will detect it will find the song, detect it. It will send you a notification to say, oh, look, we found this song. Do you want to add it to Apple Music right now? There's a button tap. You can go straight over to the Apple Music page. But then as soon as it gets that, as soon as that notification comes in, the listening turns off. So if you want to do it again, you have to go back to control center and turn it on again. So it's not like fully automatic because you're basically like saying, start a Shazam session now, go about your day for the next like 30 seconds while it detects a song, and then it turns itself off again. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the current way that it works.
Yeah.
I'd love it if they get to a point where you just leave Shazam running and then there's just a page maybe in the music app where you can see songs that you listen to today, and it has everything that you listen to in the outside world, in other apps, and in the music app itself. And that's something where I'm pretty sure Apple know by owning Shazam, they own the technology to make that happen, but they haven't gone to that level yet.
Yeah, sometime in the future. It is neat to see Shazam finally integrated with iOS in a way that's more than just Siri, which was there before they bought Shazam, and now there's something that's one step further than that. So cool.
They also updated the Watch app icon.
Did, oh yeah. So I think I mentioned it was probably on our taken down from YouTube live stream of the keynote that I mentioned, like, oh, maybe they're going to change the watch app icon to match that, and they did in this version where now the crown has the black circle versus a white circle, and they changed from the sport band to the sport loop band.
And here's the segue. What are you
Yeah,
wearing right now, Zach?
pants and a shirt.
You fooled me.
Yeah, I got an Apple Watch Series 6 review unit. I told people I wouldn't upgrade, didn't, you know, didn't do that. But I was certainly curious. So I didn't want to replace my Series 5 ceramic, white with one of the new models because it's like just felt like such a waste to go from spending the money on that. But I was certainly curious to evaluate it, and so I asked and got one, and man, it makes it changes the evaluation in terms of like how much do you really value that white ceramic model from last year versus this one. And year over year, like as the days go by, like you can't the newness kind of wears off, and you see it for like what it is. And feature wise, if it was ceramic versus ceramic, it's like, oh man, there's not a lot that's different here that I actually pay attention to. But there are other things different about the Series 6, the case color, for example, that is different. That it's like, which one do I actually like put on and wear throughout the day? And so I was sent the 44 millimeter red aluminum model. That's the version. It's got LTE, which is nice. I always use an LTE watch, but I don't use an aluminum watch. So the lightness of it is something I've picked up on, like, compared to stainless steel or ceramic. That's neat. The band that they sent, it came with the red sport band, not loop. So it wasn't one of the size ones, but they also included a charcoal, so like basically the black version of the braided loop band. Am I getting these names right? By the way, I don't
I
know.
think it's braided sport loop. Oh, no, braided solo loop, isn't it?
Yeah, braided solo loop. There you
Yeah.
go. So, and they sent it in size 8, which was a guess on their part, and it turned out to be perfect. And I even let my dad try it on, and it was perfect for him too. So we're big fans of size 8 over here. I really like the braided solo loop. I mentioned last week that I think it costs too much for what it is. It's $100 instead of 50. When like leather loops are $100 as well, and I think Milanese is too. It doesn't feel as nice as those. But it's. I mean, if you look aside from the price, it is a very nice. It is a very good band. The stretchability of it, I don't know. I can't compare it to the rubber version. But for what it is, like this is the one I've been wearing, and I I tried it with the ceramic watch too. It's like a black charcoal braided solo loop with the white ceramic. Like that would be a winning combination. So I've seen a lot of people who are just buying new bands for their old watches, and like that, the band experience is so much of it that that's a an economical upgrade, and especially if you like just collect bands and there's one more for the collection.
And the
So
solar loop, whether it's braided or the just the uniform one, that's a
yeah,
cool band to own. Like that is a unique design.
yeah, you can only get them from Apple because of all the sizes. You can go in an Apple store and try them out. They have well, maybe not the band. They have like sizing things to go on your wrists, and you can experience it at least. So, but I was fortunate that Apple PR guessed and got it right because I
Did
was
you see
really
they
concerned.
updated the online sizing guide?
Yeah, Stever had a guide. Michael Stever from 95 Mac said like go two sizes down, and they've upgraded their guide to have like an asterisk of like the size may change over time kind of thing. Or
Yeah, and they've added like more detailed instructions about which part of the arrow you're supposed to be looking at, and if it's in the middle, you better pick the one that's below, not above. Like clearly, they were getting quite a lot of people buying the wrong size and wanting return. So
it's like measuring water in a cup. The meniscus is what you're looking for, not the top of it. The bottom of the bubble.
so yeah, they've had to rework their manual for doing the online
They also
sizing.
took the power adapter out of the box for Edition and stainless
Titanium.
steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So uh, since last week,
I
which
mean, if
are
they're going to
or
make the environmental
a
angle, they
yeah,
have to do that, right? Like,
right, because it was Hermes and Edition at least. Did stainless still have the adapter in the box?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think it was just titanium and Hermes.
Okay. And so we wondered if they're going to redesign the box for those because those were noticeably larger than the other boxes. I mean, I still feel the same way that there should be a charger in the box. I love the environmental angle, but at minimum, let you add one at no charge when you're purchasing. Kind of don't punish yourself because if I sell a watch, I sell the charger with it. I can't say for environmental reasons you've got to supply your own charger. I probably won't close that sale. But
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. We talked about it last week. No
yeah,
change. Like
yeah.
taking it out of the titanium and the Hermes boxes at least makes their argument slightly more consistent. But
Mhm.
even if their argument was consistent and it's still wrong.
Yeah, I didn't realize also that it was part of the keynote, right? But it's also on their website. Like they linked to their environmental page for their description of why that's the case. Um, so I have in my notes the beta effect to talk about, and what that is um, with going from 14.0 to 14.2, you skip 14.1, which we believe is made for iPhone 12, and that's why we're not getting that. We also believe 14.2 was made before like the final version of 14.0, and so when you update to 14.2, you can't use the new blood oxygen sensor app on the Apple Watch because it requires your phone to have the version to do something with the data. And so my watch was on 7.0 WatchOS. The phone was on 14.2. I couldn't do the blood oxygen sensor test. It's like,
I guess you have to like accept the health disclaimers and stuff up front, right? That's probably what
and
they.
it saves it there too. Like the background readings is where they go. So I guess I think the
But surely
biggest thing.
it must save on your watch before, like if you're out and about without your phone, it's still doing background readings. I'm pretty sure, and then it just syncs them up, like
Sure.
it does with
Yeah.
heart rate, for instance.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it's like EKG where you've gotta have the version match up to support it. And
When you like start it in the health app on the phone, does it have that little like panels of explainer and like disclaimers like it does when you do the EKG?
yeah, I don't recall. I mean,
Okay.
there is an I button for information on the readout on the watch that explains. I think like it says like 90 and above is pretty good. You've got to kind of hunt for it to find that. I think that should be like under the readout, not at a disclosure button. But
I think the reason is they didn't get medical sign off
because
on the sensor.
they
Like,
call it wellness, not medical.
right, yeah. So
Yeah.
they have to be very careful about how they present this information. And we spoke about this bit in the keynote after the math show. Like, it's kind of silly at the moment that you just get this number and then you're kind of left to your own devices about what to do about it. But they haven't got FDA approval or whatever, the necessary regulatory accreditation they need to be able to make more defined choices, like they can with the EKG, where
Mhm.
if it does detect potential arrhythmia, it can directly say on the watch's screen, go and can talk to your doctor about it. Like
Yeah.
they don't have that same flexibility with the blood oxygen. So that's why in the event they would say like, we are doing studies about blood oxygen and COVID-19. The Apple Watch has a blood oxygen sensor. Like they never would link the two together because they're not
Yeah.
allowed to.
Yeah. The experience itself, so the app on the Apple Watch is very nice. I mean, we saw the animation from the event, and seeing it in person is just lovely. Like it's blue and red. It's like blood and arteries, and it it's 15 seconds to run it, to do like an active measurement, and as you near like say 3 seconds, it begins to form a circle of like completion, and it's just so delightful how it looks. You do see the last measurement in the app itself. So if you go like just launch it, you'll see the last say passive measurement that it picked up. So you might see like 1 hour ago, 3 hours ago, and that's neat. So it's more data than just here do a readout. You can see some
Have
passive
you found
information.
your readings to be like consistent enough that you think it's good? Because I've seen some reviews where they're like, I've been getting some reads where I say I get 90, some reads where I get 100. Like it's all over the place, so I don't really trust it.
Yeah, I've not had if I had a readout that was like you're below 90,
Hmm.
and then I had one that was like you're in the 90 range, then I would maybe be concerned. But I've seen the range be from 93 to 100. Back to back tends to be pretty consistent for me. Yeah, I saw Washington Post. They had an issue where they tried different watches and bands and just could not get it to work the right way. I haven't had that experience.
Just like the heart rate sensor, I bet it depends on like your skin and how
Yeah,
like the heart rate sensor doesn't work if you've got tattoos, for instance. So like
right.
there's all different reasons and
My
stuff like that.
skin's
And
like transparent basically, so it's
yeah,
no job for it. And if there was an issue, like despite being a review watch, that's the point of it, is to talk about the experience. I would mention and trust me. um I mean, with the Series 5, I was so disinterested in reviewing it because of an issue that it had, which I read about instead.
the battery life.
Yeah, the battery life. So
How's the battery life been on this one? Fine.
yeah, a lot of people have had issues with WatchOS 7 on their existing watches, having less battery life than they had before. I haven't had that, and I don't know, what the clear process is to take. I've done restores and set up as new. I usually set up a watch as new because there's so little that I want to bring over that it just seems like baggage for no reason. I'll have like 1 to 3 watch faces that I use regularly, and I'll recreate those and maybe change something about it in the next time I make it again. Now you can even save your watch faces, like as a file for sharing, and you could restore it that way if you just care about your watch faces. Everything else that I care about is on the phone. So for me, it's been terrific. The fast charging feature, where it's faster charging at least. What did they say? 2.5x faster, or is that brightness? But it's 20%
That's
fast.
the screen brightness
Yeah, that's
outdoors. I think
always
they said
on.
20% faster charging.
Yeah. So I've not done like a side by side comparison of a 0 to 100 watch. Maybe I will do that since I've got both here now. But it certainly seems like it's not like super fast to
You're
charge.
not going to notice it.
Yeah, I was tracking from 12% to 100 over 3 hours and kind of gave up. I ended up at like 80, 85 or so.
That seems like average Apple Watch charging time to me.
Yeah, it made me think like, is this Belkin multi-charger thing slower than just the Apple Watch cable would be? I don't, I'll try it out and see what the differences are. But so far, the battery charging difference, it didn't jump out to me, and neither has the brighter always on screen. So I do need to do side by side comparisons at full brightness, in the dim mode in sunlight, to see like when you're at the extreme, is it actually noticeable? There's also the difference of the Ion-X glass versus with the sapphire glass.
Hmm.
So the Series 6 being Ion-X glass, it's going to be brighter in sunlight than the sapphire will be anyway.
Good point. Yeah.
So it's gonna be difficult to do like a side by side test. Although I do have a Series 5 here that's Ion-X glass, so I can do that side by side test and see.
Yeah, I think you're only going to see it in like the brightest sunlight because they were very careful to word
Yeah.
it as in like, when you're really in the bright outdoors, it will be up to 2.5 times brighter. They're definitely not cranking it 2.5 times brightness constantly.
Yeah, and so in general usage, I haven't noticed or appreciated that. But if they come, in another hardware revision and say we've now got 1,500 nits, I will cheer because, there are times when I kind of can't make out what it says on the screen
Yeah.
still, and part of it is I've just a condition of my eyes is that things appear darker than they actually are, and so
Hmm.
it's like a filter over it. So I could benefit from like having it brighter than you might normally want it to be, as kind of accessibility feature. The red watch is beautiful. I love it. I had an option of blue or red, and I picked red. the blue one I think is also lovely, but it looks closer to existing finishes like space gray, for example,
Hmm.
than the red does. Although the red is like, you could get phones like that before, but just not the watch. But as the watch itself, like it kind of reminds me of if you were before to put a red case on your watch of whatever color to get to have that aesthetic, but now you don't have to use a case for it, which for a watch is lovely. Um, and
Yeah, you held
and
it up to me on this call, and it did look really pretty. It's like,
yeah, I mean, the different bands that it can go with. The sport band that it came with is red, but it has a silver pen, and that's always kind of been an annoying thing, is like mismatching the finishes of the pen and the watch case for me. I don't know why they don't just do like this is the red pen that comes with the red watch, but whatever. But I didn't use that one anyway because that band you could always get before, and so there's nothing special about it. The braided version is new, and I actually really like it. So
yeah, the black red combo works really well.
yeah, and the black and white combo worked really well with the ceramic. So if you were to have like that watch and want to put together, one of the new bands, that's a really neat combination. It's made the red watch, like I've got a pair of like checkered Vans slip-on shoes, and they're red and black checkered. My son used to have red and white ones checkered, but he outgrew those quickly. But like it looks just like those in terms of like the finish combinations. And so for me, I think I'll really like it. I've seen people say that they won't be able to get the red because with certain things it just won't work out with what they have to wear. But for me, this is probably what I would have purchased had I purchased one. It does make me want to use more red faces. Like I've gone through and I've found like, the Explorer face from the Series 3
Hmm.
LTE, where it's supposed to introduce, like that's the one with the LTE dots inside the face. That one looks really good because the hands on that one are like this bright red color.
Oh
Or
yeah, because they made it red to match the red dot from
yeah,
Series Three
yeah.
generation. Yeah,
Yeah, that never got updated to be like a Series 4 and up face. Like it has the kind of smiley face layout of two circle complications and like one rounded one at the bottom. But that one, I've always liked that watch face anyway, just as visually. And having it with the red watch is like, oh, that looks really neat. The way that it lays out. But any of the watch faces that you can pick a color on, like having red elements to it, matching the watch finish now, not just the band, is neat. Speaking of complications, so on the Explorer watch face, one of the complications that you could do with Series 5 is compass, and so you've got your degree directions as to where you're facing. That works when the watch face is active. It goes down when you lower your wrist, and the watch face is inactive. It becomes just like a bar, so it doesn't load the compass when you're not having the it active. There's a new complication for altimeter. Well, I guess it's for elevation, but it's using the altimeter. And now that altimeter is always on, you can always see your elevation as a complication, even when your watch is lower. It saves that number, if not updates it. And there's a new complication style where it's a combination of both direction and degrees and elevation. And on the Explorer watch face, which the name implies, kind of travel,
it's a good fit.
taking it out to a walk, I put it on there. And at first I was like, oh, I'll do it in the top corner complications, elevation and direction. And then I found at the bottom you could do the combination. It's like, oh, there's two in one, and so it's direction in degrees slash elevation, and height. And so I was like, that's really neat. Now I can use these two for something else. So
It's kind of funny how we're in a world where you can have always on updating your elevation, but you can't have like an always on stopwatch.
yes, yeah, it's sad, not funny. um, and I mean that's about it for me. Like I think
I mean, it's a small year watch, right? Like,
yeah, the big features, like I posted a hands on last week about it. Just like here are pictures of it. Because I think that's so valuable when there's a new finish. And that's like the big new feature for me. It's like there's a new red, there's a new blue. If you get gold, the gold's a different shade. If you get their version of black, then space gray or space black is different than charcoal this year. I think today we published a hands on with that from our colleague Chance. You know, I really want to see a comparison of the edition gold, like back when it was 18 karat gold, with the stainless steel gold that was more like, kind of rosy, kind of bronzy, to the new version of gold, which looks to be yellower than it did before, and see like how similar are those three watches and what are the differences. That's kind of a combination that's not common to just like pull out of a drawer, but I'm curious. And then every other color is the same, right? Like there's still space gray silver, still one version of gold for aluminum. Silver hasn't changed, titanium didn't change, white's gone, and ceramic. So, but yeah, if you've got a Series 3 or later, like or earlier, then it's an awesome upgrade because you get everything from Series 4 and 5 plus more. If you have a
Yeah,
Series
if you've
4,
got a 5, I don't think you really need to worry yourself.
yeah, having a 5, like you've got to be like an annual upgrader anyway to really appreciate it. Otherwise, you might not really appreciate it. My dad has a Series 2 that I gave him, and he still wears it every single day. And he's when I went to go visit him, he tried out the blood oxygen stuff, and he had good reading. He tried out the EKG stuff for the first time, and it made me think like, oh man, even with the SE, like that's what I probably would have bought them as upgrades, but because they are older, there are health features that are on the higher, like the price of your watches, and what is it, 399 is the price of a Series 6 to start out with,
Yes.
and it's not that much more to go up to the larger size. So it's like 429, I think, for the larger screen size. And I don't think I worry about cellular for them. So it's like not that. It's like 280 versus 400 for the health features. It's worth it when they're going to use them for several years versus me doing like a 1 year, 2 year thing. So, but having him like try out this out, I was like, oh man, this would be a good upgrade. Not even worry about the Series 4 or 5, like an older version of that, but just get them to this because you've got not just EKG now, but the blood oxygen stuff, and why not? So.
Yeah, it's a fine year for the watch, just not anything like dramatic.
Didn't Ming Chi Kuo say that he didn't say there'd be a redesign next year, but he said the redesign would come no sooner than next year.
I think that's the wording, yeah.
That's the
So
wording, yeah.
there's a redesign in the offing, I guess.
Yeah. Which would mean you get first gen Series 2, Series 3, that was one design. And then Series 4 was a redesign that's lasted from 4, 5, and 6. So maybe Series 7, maybe it's like every 3 generations there's an update, or 4. So
It's the tick tick tock.
tick tock tick tock
Wherever
tock.
I'd never
Yeah.
remember which way it is.
Yeah. So anyway. So I'm really enjoying it, and who knows what I'll do. If anyone wants to buy a white ceramic Apple Watch, let me know. I'll cut you a deal. How about that?
All right, we'll
Serious.
do one more ad break and
Yeah,
then
I just did one. Didn't you hear it?
yeah. And then we'll be back with iPhone 12 rumors.
Cool.
Small businesses have unique needs, and despite the current economic uncertainty, one thing stays the same: the need and importance to have the right people on your team. When your business is ready to make its next hire, LinkedIn Jobs can help by matching your role with qualified candidates so you can find the right person quickly. LinkedIn is an active community of professionals with more than 690 million members worldwide. Simply start by posting the job title, company name, and location on the LinkedIn Jobs dashboard. LinkedIn Jobs screens candidates with the hard and soft skills that you're looking for. It puts your job post in front of qualified members. It's targeted to show up for people looking for a job just like yours. LinkedIn Jobs can help you hire the right person faster. LinkedIn Jobs finds people that are not only qualified but fit in with your company's culture. It does the legwork so you can focus on hiring the person who will transform your business. When your business is ready to make that next hire, find the right person with LinkedIn Jobs. Pay what you want and get the first $50 off. Just visit linkedin.com/happy hour. Again, that's linkedin.com/happy hour to get $50 off your first job post. Terms and conditions apply. Our thanks to LinkedIn Jobs for sponsoring the show.
Thanks, LinkedIn. Before we do iPhone 12 names, I have one more thing to say that I forgot to mention. You know the new Apple style of gift card where
Yes.
it works not just with the App Store or just with the Apple Store, but for both. One of those came with the review unit for a very low amount. Okay, I guess so you can try out apps and stuff. Because they used to just come
It's to
with the
bribe
app.
you, Jack. It's to bribe you, Zach. If the watch is bad, you get $25 gift card. You're gonna change your mind.
They used to just include the App Store gift card so that you could put apps on the device, and now it's both. So that's neat. But what I didn't know is that the different designs of Apple logos on the card is kind of important because the gift card is a barcode on the back, and the front of it is where a sticker is, which is what displays through the card case when you purchase it. And so it turns out that when you buy the gift card, whoever receives it, can peel off that Apple logo from the front of the card, and it's an Apple sticker. And they have a ton of designs. So in the iPhone, you always get a white one of varying sizes. In the Mac, you get a little bit larger one, and maybe you get a color if you get like a 12-inch MacBook from 2015, or maybe MacBook Airs come with those. I don't know.
I think the iMac Pro comes with a black one, for instance.
And the Mac Pro certainly does.
Yeah.
But with all of these gift cards with values, I think as low as $25, you get, like you could give someone that code and keep the sticker for yourself if you really wanted to, and they get the gift and you get the sticker.
Because it's
And
not just like a flat color, right? It's like a proper like
no,
pattern.
there's a ton of patterns, and you know that they'll change over time. So there'll be like dozens and dozens. But the one that I had is like a bunch of circles in different colors to make up the Apple logo. And it was like the first time where I was like, I never put an Apple sticker on something because I just have so many and it's just not a thing I do. But I want to put this somewhere because it's unique. Like this is the one that's associated with the review watch, and also it's just a very cool sticker. So I put it on like a hard drive. but like it's I didn't know that about the gift card. Like we
Yeah, I
talked
didn't
about
know that
that
either.
on
They
the
come with a
show.
nice little sticker that's not just like the plain Jane white stickers that you get with the iPhone.
And they're pretty sizable. Like they're bigger than like an iPod Nano sticker. What would have been. So stickers. All right, let's talk iPhone 12 stuff. We this week there's some naming stuff that's kind of unbelievable, but they come from places that we can probably believe.
Yeah, so Love to Dream, our favorite guy who, or girl,
Yeah.
we don't. He's technically an anonymous account, but
They have an Apple Watch Air Maz, which is very lovely.
he has predicted a lot of stuff this year, very much correctly.
Yeah, I would love for them to join our team.
What he tweeted this week were the names of the iPhone 12 lineup, and we're expecting the iPhone 12 to be announced sometime in October, right? For maybe like a late October launch, at least starting
Yeah.
with one model. There's going to
Probably
be
mid-October for one of the second Fridays or third and fourth Friday of the month release.
Yeah. There's going to be 4 models. You've got 5.4 inch, 2 6.1 inch models, and a 6.7 inch model. So, according to Love to Dream, they are going to be called the 6.1 inch model with the 2 camera system, which is like the equivalent of the current iPhone 11, will be called iPhone 12. Shocker. That's
Just like
perfectly
iPhone
reasonable.
11, there's iPhone 12. There's no S, which we didn't expect to see this year
Because the design is different,
Mhm.
right? It does
Yeah.
have flat sides, and it will look slightly different. So, iPhone 12, okay. Then you have the...
and all OLED screens across the board.
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a big deal. Yeah.
So then you have the other 6.1 inch model, which has the camera system. We have the LiDAR scanner. That is going to be called iPhone 12 Pro, okay, because it's going to have more cameras, the advanced LiDAR system.
Just like the 11 Pro is a thing in the lineup. Yeah.
Okay, so then you've got the 6.7 inch phone, which will also have the triple camera system and the LiDAR scanner, like what we see in the iPad Pro. iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Okay.
Okay,
Like today
so
we had
just-
11 Pro Max.
Okay,
Consistent.
and then the other new one,
We
'cause
knew
the-
there'd be a new size. So
because the
this
Pro
isn't
Max is
surprising.
the same formula as last year, just with the screen being ever so slightly bigger again, right?
Yeah, it's more max. It's maxier than last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the kind of newcomer to the lineup is this 5.4 inch model, which will have the A14 chip, the new design, and it'll have the double camera system like the iPhone 12. It
And
won't have the
it's
triple
smaller
camera
than the iPhone Pro, which is smaller than the iPhone.
correct.
So what do you call something that's
It's going to be slightly bigger than a first gen iPhone SE. That's what the size of it roughly will be.
and it's full
Okay?
screen design, so
And it's exactly. The actual screen will be way bigger, but
Yeah.
the physical chassis will be slightly bigger than the original SE. And that is going to be called, according to Love to Dream, iPhone 12 Mini
iPhone 12 Mini.
with a lowercase m, like the Mac Mini.
Yeah, like the like the iPad Mini, like the Mac Mini. Like the iPod Mini. What do you think about that?
When I first tweeted it out, when it was first tweeted out, I was like, really? But I guess I've kind of got used to it. Like, and they do use it in the Mac Mini lineup. The
I
iPod
think
Mini
on
they're
the
using.
on the phones, it's too like derogatory or like a
It's too on the nose, right? Because
it's not small. It's the smallest, but it's not the smallest phone ever.
yeah,
And it's also it's like when 10R was like it suggested it was sub 10s, which it was, but it wasn't like the main iPhone. And again, like maybe that's okay because the main iPhone is called iPhone. All right, but it's also kind of like many really like it implies cheap in a way that even SE doesn't quite imply. Or maybe it doesn't. Like on the iPad Mini, I mean, it's a premium version of the iPad compared to
Yeah.
the iPad with no modifier. But I just didn't like Pro sounds awesome. Not awesome, but like it's impactful. Pro Max is certainly impactful. Many whatever.
I
I
think we
don't.
get. It's not. I'd say it's not offensive, right? Like, I guess we'll
Yeah.
get used to it. I don't. I don't know what else they would, because 12 SE doesn't make any sense because it's still gonna be an
Air,
expensive phone.
Air is a good name. I like Air
Yeah,
over Mini.
maybe.
Yeah,
I
Air
think the
over
main
Mini.
problem they have is that it's going to be feature for feature identical to the iPhone 12, apart from the screen size being smaller, right? So
So
they don't.
I mean that certainly implies smaller. So
Yeah, yeah.
and
So
and can I say like I don't know I didn't like follow our reporting on this super closely. Love to Dream had this on my local time 6:44 a.m. on September 21st. We did have an email in our tips inbox from iPhonesoft.fr, so a French website,
yep,
and they said on September the 10th at 4:22 a.m., so 11 days and 2 hours and 20 minutes earlier, they said that we got some info from an accessory maker who gave us the right name last year for iPhone 11 Pro. This time it's iPhone 12 Mini for the smallest 2020 5G device. And the link to the story. When I saw that, I mean, I will admit I kind of laughed it off in our work communications channel, and I was like, no, and then Love to Dream comes along, and like we take it seriously because it's probably true, and shame on me
the
for
problem
ignoring
with
the.
taking names off case makers is they just guess, right? Like, so often.
They will do like 2020 5.8 inch iPhone,
Yeah, iPhone Plus, they'll just call it. They just come up with a name and they write it down, and then people see that on a website and they're like, that's the name, but they don't know. Clearly, iPhone Soft is queued in if they got it right here. Well, we're assuming they got it right,
their
and they
their
got it right last year.
sources. Yeah, they have a good source who they trust who got it
Yeah,
right last year, and again this year it
yeah. Like, I have
appears.
nothing against iPhone Soft. They've done good reporting before. It's just like the problem with that. And iPhone 12 Mini has been floated by other places as well, but it's hard to really take the name seriously unless someone big like Quo or Love to Dream report on it, because
Big like
their accuracy ratings are just so much higher.
big like the supply chain analyst Ming Chi Kuo, formerly of KGI, now of TF International Securities, or Love to Dream, where the O is a zero and the account is really anonymous. You know.
Different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of Quo, he also had a report today that said there will be a new iPad Pro model coming before the end of the year with 5G, the A14X chip, we presume, because of 5G support, and it will have a mini LED display. So the mini LED rumor has been running around the Apple Hard product, rumor mill for a while now. Quo has, I think he said originally they were going to be mini LED iPads early this year, but then to be fair, the pandemic happened and stuff. So, blah, 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 blah. He now says, end of this year, there's going to be an iPad Pro update, which will basically look like the current iPads, except you'll have the upgraded display with mini LED, and it'll have 5G and the newer processor. So people who are like right now looking at the iPad Air and comparing it to the 11-inch iPad Pro and thinking, in many ways the Air is actually superior and it's cheaper, that kind of oddity will probably get rectified sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Cool. So what we know about the iPad in 2020 is that the iPad Pro was revised in March to have one more graphics core
And
and
the
the lidar
LiDAR
and a
sensor
lidar camera, and
that
some of us
nobody
bought
uses.
it. Yeah, and some of us bought it to replace their 2018 models, which were basically the same. They so that was March. The iPad was replaced this year with a better chip, and then the iPad Air was introduced to be released in October. I'm really keen on those. Like, I kind of I want one. We'll see.
Yeah, and
But
especially the cool colors.
right, yeah, it's like blue or green. Which one do I go with? But probably blue. But that's coming in October at some point, probably earlier in the month because it was announced in September. So they probably have a handle on production there. The iPad Mini, we don't know anything about an update for this year for it, really. But then the iPad Pro, back again, has a new update coming by the end of the year, according to Quo, who sometimes gets timing wrong. So it could be like March 2021, or
Yeah, and his timing for product announcements of this year has definitely been not as good as normal.
yeah,
And
yeah,
some of that you got to attribute to like the supply chain disruptions, right? Like a lot of
yeah,
stuff's getting shifted around. But
yeah, yeah. You want to do some Q&A?
yeah, when we
Okay.
were talking about the TV Plus stuff, Amid Khan said, "I hope that we get a release date for All Mankind soon," and I
Hey, me
agree.
too.
Like
Hey, me too. Yeah.
we saw the teaser, and Apple wouldn't release the teaser if they didn't expect to have it coming out before the end of the year, right? We know that they're currently shooting the last 2 episodes. And then once they're shot, I believe what's going to happen is Apple's going to announce the season and they'll start showing the episodes that they've already got in the can while they finish final production on actually making the CGI and stuff for the final 2 episodes. So, maybe October or November seem likely dates for Mankind Season 2. Technically, Apple's first Season 2 debut has now been announced as part of their full kids programming. Ghostwriter Season 2 starts on October the 13th, I think it is, and that's the first Season 2 date for an Apple TV Plus show. But I presume that there'll be For All Mankind and stuff following soon after. Like Dickinson Season 2 will probably be out soonish. For All Mankind Season 2 will be out soonish. Servant is still shooting. They're on like episode 4 of 8, so there'll be a while. C is going to start shooting in October, but they're expected not to finish shooting until like February, so they're going to be a while. And as far as you know, the morning show has recorded 1 episode and that's it, so it's going to be ages before you see morning show Season 2 as well. So that's kind of the update on the big Season 2 renewals over at TV Plus land.
The cast will be like way older.
Yeah.
Between episode 1 and Season 2. And
Home Before Dark.
Yes.
That is actually a real problem for that show because that has like an 11-year-old as the lead star.
Yeah.
If they delay by 2 years or whatever, or a year and a half, there'll actually be a noticeable age jump on screen, and they've actually talked about that. They might have to write in a bit of an age jump just to account for it.
Neat. Does any show have a Season 3 like on the books yet?
Not officially.
Okay. I wonder if C will get renewed for Season 3. Like it feels like C could be one of the premiere shows to go away. I enjoyed watching it, and I will watch it again, but boy, does it just feel heavy right now.
Yeah. I mean, they're adding a big cast for this second season. They got Dave Bautista coming on and stuff. So, and I think I see a lot on like the TweetDeck column of Apple TV. A lot of people do like. I didn't like C too much, but a lot of people, cling on to C. Like from what I can, get from Twitter at least, the biggest shows seem to be Morning Show, Ted Lasso, Mythic Quest, and C basically. So that seems to be Apple's biggest hits. So I don't think they're going to cancel it but they are getting ready to replace it. Like because that's basically their only like true sci-fi show really. Because For All Mankind's like alternate history, right? So, but they are getting ready to kind of add to their sci-fi roster with like Invasion and the Foundation trailer like they showed in June and stuff. So maybe when that stuff is like established, they can kill off C if it's not performing as well.
Yeah. Someone asked about iPhone 12 launch date. We don't know yet. There's not even been an event for it, but we can probably presume. I mean, we know October unless things go bad, and we can presume it'll be on a Friday. We can write off the 2nd of October and probably the 9th of October. The 16th seems like the soonest it could happen. Then there's the 23rd. Then there's the 30th. And the 30th, like to make an October launch, like for one of the 4 iPhones launching, seems kind of late. So I would think like the 16th or 23rd kind of split.
They would never launch a major product the day after the event. iOS 14, cough, cough. No, they're not going to do it for an iPhone. There'll be pre-orders for an iPhone.
Yeah.
So I think 16th sounds about right.
16th for pre-orders and 23rd for launch. For iPhone 12, and then like 12 Pro and Pro Max
come
mini.
Who
knows?
Yeah,
mini should be fine. It's just a screen size difference, but for the Pro and Pro Max, then we expect November, right, for both sizes of the Pro.
The exact firm dates for the others for anything but the 6.1-inch non-Pro one haven't all over the place. Some people say early November, some people say late November. But I guess November probably.
2020.
Yeah, so before the end of the year.
Yeah.
But before Fitness Plus comes out. On that topic, we had a question from Yum Chi. Do you think Fitness Plus, Apple should build public APIs for the watch integration, such as heart rate activity levels, to be less monopolistic? They already do. That's actually one of the interesting things about Fitness Plus is that a third-party app could replicate the experience one-to-one. They could shoot their own videos. They could pair with a nearby watch, and they could teleport the current health metrics via the healthcare APIs to the big screen. Like it's something that anybody could do. There's no restrictions on it at all. You can get healthcare access very freely. And
they would change the rules though. Like when they would change the rules retroactively to say it can't be too similar to this. You can't use activity rings. Something
yeah, I mean that's when it becomes monopolistic. But at least right now, that all the health data is freely available to third-party apps to use how they want.
Hmm.
Obviously, you get the privacy screens like, do you want to allow this app to access this information? But you can say yes or no.
Yeah.
Do you
There's a
think
quick.
the new watch colors are going to be used for the iPhone 12 Pro finishes?
I mean, blue is rumored already, and I think we
Hmm.
thought, for Pro for stainless steel, and red has been a color of the phone since what, iPhone 7 with red, or iPhone, well, I think 7, and then 8
Yeah,
was
7
like,
was the first one that did it. Yeah,
yeah, 7 was white and red, and then 8 was black and red, and then
and they didn't do it
10R.
for the 10.
Yeah, 10 didn't have it. 10R had red as
Had
one of the options, and so does 11. So red is already there, but the blue option for aluminum, we think blue for a stainless steel color to replace green. That's what's been rumored, is that midnight green becomes something blue, and awesome. That'll be pretty. Maybe they also do it for one of the replace the 11 colors to make the iPhone 12 just look different, because last year they had green, or for this year really, I guess they had green and purple, and
Mhm.
that replaced blue and yellow. I always get
Mm.
this confused. Maybe blue and
Coral
blue,
was it?
blue and blue
Coral?
and coral, blue and coral. Yeah,
Yeah.
so the kind of that orangey color. So yeah, probably there will be like that same version of blue for the iPhone 12, but then also for the 12 Pro, because that's what's been the rumor. The 12 colors haven't really been rumored
Yeah.
to change, which they leaked before. Like those glass shards leaked, so maybe they will happen, or maybe
Smashed them on the ground and smuggled them out as little like glass.
weapons like shanks. Yeah. So I don't know. It's neat. And then I guess graphite could be a thing for space gray. Like the band color could change to graphite as a new color there if you get the
Maybe
black one.
try and make it look a bit more like iPhone 5 Slate, maybe.
Yeah, maybe so.
That
And
side.
and then gold. I would guess that gold would change from. Well, I don't know how similar the gold phone and watch are, even in stainless steel bands. Maybe they're one for one, or maybe not. I don't think I've had a gold 11. As many things has run through
You
me.
had a lot of products.
Yeah.
And someone asked, when is Apple One coming out? It's a good question. They say this fall, but they said before the end of the year for Fitness Plus, and Apple One's launching before Fitness Plus is. So you can switch that timeline back a bit. I think sometime in October alongside 14.1 is a good guess, because 14.1 will probably have the software integration it needs to, spam you / recommend you to upgrade to Apple One. So it's
Yeah.
probably whenever 14.1 comes out.
The thing about the fall deadline, I mean, if it's early fall, then that does imply first, but fall runs through like December 21st, which is practically December 31st, which is the end of the year. So it's kind of the same thing to me. But maybe
I
they
mean,
launch.
why don't they say Fitness Plus coming this fall then? They say specifically that one with different wording.
Maybe different people wrote those sentences. I don't know, but
Maybe.
it
Or
would.
maybe
I mean,
Plus is coming out on the 31st of December.
yeah. Last
Yeah,
one
I
that.
think sorry, I think Apple One out alongside iPhone 12 is probably what they're aiming for. So 14.1.
Yeah, cool. Makes sense. And then lastly, someone asked us, if they were to be an Apple employee, how could they contact us? And that's the part where I say you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ApolloZac, APOLLOZAC. I have open DMs on both. And Benjamin, you're on Twitter at.
BZA Mayo, open DMs.
And if you have any feedback, you can email us together at happyhour@9to5mac.com. And we will be back next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.